Hello and welcome to Decimal Search. I have already chosen an equation, plotted the corresponding graph in autograph, and changed the appearance of the axes a little bit. You can see how to do that in another video on the internet. So Decimal Search starts by doing an integer search within a boundary that you choose. So for example, in this case, you can go between -3 and 3. And look up the corresponding y value. If you see that there is a change in sign in the corresponding y value, like between x equal to -2 and x equal to -1, we have gone from a negative value to a positive value, then that indicates that there is a root in that particular interval. So let's see how to do that in Excel. I have a book here open, which has my expression there and some integer searches and all the searches that we need to do. Start by typing in x equal to -3, -2, and then you can highlight these, scroll down until you've reached your desired number. And then here you can put in the formula by typing in equals, and then wherever you see an X, you put the corresponding cell, which in my case is A4. You also have to be careful about putting all the times and divides in, because Excel does not like not having those. So 2 times A4 to the power of 3 minus 3 times A4 to the power of 2 minus 5 times A4 plus 2. Notice that all the A4s are written now in blue, which corresponds to the color of this cell, so they refer to the value in that cell. If you press tab, you can see it calculated the value. I can hover my mouse, see when it turns to a black cross, then drag down, and it calculates the corresponding values, updating the formula. We are looking for a change in sign, so let's highlight those. That's my first change in sign. I'm going to make it bad for no particular reason, just because it looks like a nice color. And there you go, I've highlighted my changes in sign. If you had changes in sign between consecutive integers, you might have a bit of an issue, but that's your problem to solve, really. And to be honest, highlighting these is not the most important thing, which means I know that my roots are between -2 and -1, and now it thinks it's a formula, so stop thinking it's a formula. It's not a number, it's text. There we go. 0 less than x less than 1, and 2 less than x less than 3. Those are the 3 intervals where my roots live. Let's work out this root a bit more accurately. So we will do a first decimal search, which means we will look between 2 and 3, going in steps of 0.1. Let me copy that part of the table, paste it using Control-C, Control-V, and make it normal. The reason why I do this is because now I've copied the formula and it has been updated to the corresponding cell. Then type in the next number, select 2 cells and drag down until you've reached 3. Then drag down the corresponding one there. Highlight your change in sign if you want to, which means at this point I know that my root is between 2.3 and 2.4, and I can only give it accurately to one significant figure. If I wanted to write it including the error bound, I would say that x is midpoint, so 2.35 plus or minus. So insert symbol plus or minus. Let's copy. No, I'm not going to copy that because I'm going to need it later. 0.05. The number of decimal places in the error bound needs to match up the number of decimal places in your number, and that's a quick way of checking that you have written it correctly. So let's try to merge these. No. There we go. Okay, next off, second decimal search between 2.3 and 2.4. Same deal, copy, paste, 2.31, highlight, drag down that one. Just going to make all of these normal and then highlight the change in sign, which occurs here. At this point, I can say that my root is between 2.37 and 2.38, which means I can give it accurately to one decimal place or two significant figures. And in terms of the error bounds, it is 2.375 plus or minus 0.005. You don't need to do this at every step. It's not wrong if you do it, but it's not going to give you any marks. All right, I will fill in all of my other decimal searches up until the fifth one, and then we'll come back and see what to do next. Okay, so welcome back. I have now filled in all of my 5 decimal searches plus the integer search, and for each of these I've written the interval, the actual root, and the error bounds. I need to also write how many significant figures I'm using, so we shall go the copy paste route. 3, 4, 5. Okay, what do you actually have to show in Word? Well, if you start off with a blank document that's a bit more visible, like this one, you need to be careful about stating your equation. And best way to get the equation is to look here, double click on the function, copy that particular part, and then paste it in an equation editor, and there you have it, all nicely formatted. Next, you should probably state that the corresponding graph is the y equals version. And when you import your graph, one thing that you might like to show is where the roots are. To show where the roots are, you can select the curve, right-click, solve f of x equal to 0. That puts those dots there. If you select them and use the text box, the problem is that it actually gives you the solution and calls it the solution each one, which is not really good language use. However, we can just insert a normal text box saying root A, another one, root B, and root C, and then you can copy this graph. The best way to copy this graph, notice that I've hidden my key by right clicking on it and hiding it. You can copy the page, Control C, and paste it in your Word document. There we have it, a nice big graph. I would probably add a title. And there we go. Next thing is to show your integer search and the intervals where roots A, B, and C lie. And this is where our Excel tables come in. We can copy this and paste it into Word. The highlighting stays. So we can see that the roots lie in the intervals, and then you can show your 3 intervals. Tell people which root you're finding. So I will find root C to 5 significant figures. And then put in your tables. Copy paste them from Excel. So you could even copy a few at once. It might mean that they end up being very, very small. So you might need to be careful about that. And then at the end, make sure you actually state your root. If you do not state your root, you do not get the mark. And there you have it. That is the first mark for decimal search. You have shown the graph with roots. You have shown what equation you're solving. You've done an integer search. You've done the whole decimal search. You've stated your root. And actually, we've gone on to the second mark and done the error bands. Thank you for watching, and my next video will be on how to illustrate decimal search.